everyone. So happy you could join me today. I'm Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch, and we're doing another episode of One Card in 4 Decks. And I'm so excited because we are closing up the wands today. This has been an awesome time going through the wands with you, and it's been an adventure picking out the decks that portray the best way possible of what I see in the Rider-Waite cards in other decks. It's been such a fun adventure. I can't wait to start the cups. I think that we're gonna have a fun adventure with those too. If you're just clicking on and you have no idea what I'm talking about, what we're doing is we're comparing the Rider-Waite symbology, excuse me, with other decks so that you can, transpose, if you will, the symbology and imagery into or onto other decks so that you can learn them easier. I know a lot of people don't like this imagery, so this is kind of for you to maybe to understand where this imagery comes from and how it's used in other decks and sometimes not at all, and how you can learn what those symbols mean and what the imagery means so that you can understand your deck better. So without further ado, I want to talk about the crystal that I'm using for this video. I pick out a crystal for every video that represents the card that we're talking about. So we're talking about the King of Wands. And the King of Wands is all-powerful. He is the epitome of fire. So I chose the Sunstone, and if you look at that, isn't that gorgeous? The Sunstone is full of energy, full of fire, just like the sun. If you need energy throughout your day, hold this in your pocket. I often use it for success spells, or for any kind of energy that I need right now. It speeds up any kind of spell work, speeds up any kind of working that you're doing. It kind of puts an exclamation on it saying now. And that kind of sums up the King of Wands. So let's go ahead and look at that imagery. So as you can tell, he's not seated back in his chair, first of all. He's kind of on the edge of his seat, and that speaks a lot. So the King of Wands we know that the king, or if you don't know, the kings are air. And air is in charge of thought and intellect and communication. So, and also kings are masters. They have mastered their element, or so to speak. All right, they are the top of the hierarchy. So wands are fire. So here we have the air, or the intellect of fire. To me, that translates as a hothead. So this guy you can tell he's looking around his territory or his kingdom, and he's almost expecting somebody to mess up so that he can yell at them. Look at that. I mean, he's like, who am I going to punish today? And, he's always on the edge of his seat. He is looking to find fault. We always have someone in our lives, right? Maybe a boss or a parent, or, someone in our lives that are just looking for some kind of fault to pick apart. That's who this guy represents in our lives. Now, that's not all bad. The King of Wands can be He's very courageous. He's very proud of what he's accomplished. He has all of the pedigrees that he needs to be in command. He earned his title. However, with all of this power comes great responsibility. I know, I quoted it, I said it, I know. But it can go to our heads. Like I said, he's the heir of fire. All that power can corrupt. And that is why he's not my favorite king. Okay, he's not my favorite. Because he's got such anxiety. Okay, such anxiety, you can tell. He's looking for somebody to trip up or to spill something, and he's like, now you have to pay for it, So that is, the symbolism behind the King of Wands. He does have a familiar like his wife, the Queen of Wands. Like she had her cat, he's got his salamander right down here. So you would expect a bigger animal out of this guy, but he has his lions and salamanders as the elemental of fire, and all on his cloaks and everything. But he has his little guy friend here, and I think that's almost adorable for someone in his power to have this little guy here. It's kind of cute. So I'll allow in that cuteness. But this guy is, he's a little pompous. He's prideful, and, he's just almost too passionate about his job. So before I berate him anymore, let's move on to the Dark Mansion Tarot, or what I call my Tim Burton deck. His name is not on this deck, but it's nonetheless, it's Tim Burton-esque, if you will. So look at his face. You can see, he's dressed very richly. He is holding on to that throne. Let me get my porcupine quill in the right hand. Look how he's dressed, like so regal. And look at that crown. It's almost very heavy. It's heavy for him. It's a lot of responsibility to be king. This drapery is gotta be super heavy too. You got suns on his on the drapes here. He's not outside. He is very he's inside in his throne here, and dressed to the nines, holding his wand very dear to him, so holding his power very close to him, and then holding on to his throne. Looks like he's got a hold of it for dear life. And he looks around, like his look is very like, I dare you to take this from me. So again, very pompous. Listen, you all, I'm not talking shit about this king, but he a little aggressive, a little, he's not, I would not want to be friends with this king. Let's just say that. I would not. He is just not the type of person that I would want to be in charge of my kingdom. Even though he is seated back, like unlike this king in the Rider-Waite, the look on his face is he's suspicious of you. He is sizing you up. he looks like he is sizing you up. So yeah, he's very suspicious of you. So, okay, let's move on, because I feel like this whole video is going to be me talking shit. But let's move on to less people, more animals. So this is The Guardian of the Night Tarot by MJ Cuillinane. So here we have a beautiful lion and a snake and a beautiful crow up here. This is a beautiful card. We know lions are courageous, check, right? We've got to have that for our King of Wands. And we know that they are prideful, they are protective. That is what we want from our King of Wands, right? I love the constellation up here of the crown. That is beautiful. We have little fireflies. I love this depiction of the King of Wands. I would vote for him. I would. He's so protective. He looks like he is not going to let anything happen to anyone in his kingdom. You know? And whatever the scenery is behind him looks like eyes. So very watchful, right? And we know that because the King of Wands is very watchful. And I feel like these eyes are almost symbolic of all the salamanders on the cape of the King of Wands. So I feel like they're all watching, you know, so this could be part of that anxiety, always watching, but he doesn't look pompous. He doesn't look, you know, he doesn't look like he's suspicious of you. He just looks very watchful. He looks very ready to pounce if he needs to, just like these guys. I don't know about that guy. But he does have this little snake down here alongside his wand. Just this little snake, which reminds me of the salamander down here. You know, that he can let loose at any time to come get you. Plus, he's got this crow that I feel like is his little watch crow. So he's sit back pretty. You know, he's got lookouts. So don't get it wrong that he's just sitting there doing nothing. He's got scouts. So I love this card as a depiction of the King of Wands. Yes, this is probably my favorite of this set. Like, I really like this one. Of course, I love lions, so they're pretty kitties. All right. Now to the Wildwood Tarot. And we have the King of Bows, and this is the Adder. So we have an interesting depiction, right? Something totally different. So we have this bundle of snakes here, or adders, adders. So what is interesting about this card is we have the same fundamental meanings. And what I mean by that is that we do have eyes everywhere. Just like this past King of Wands and just like our Rider-Waite King of Wands. We have eyes everywhere. We know we have eyes looking south, north, east, and west. We have, I mean, an attack can come out of every which way. You know, so we have this meaning of being on guard, being ready to attack, you know, and Adders fear nothing. They do not have any fear. You know, snakes and adders will attack without question, right? If they feel they are being attacked. They are in charge of their territory, just like the King of Wands, just like all kings. They are in charge. And if you come up on them, they will defend their territory, right? So I kind of love this depiction. You know, it's sometimes the simplest depictions can be the most meaningful, right? Tarot doesn't have to be overly complicated to get the point across. And that is why I love this card, because it's not overly complicated. We have the point and we get it, right? So I love that. So that makes absolute sense to me. So that is the King of Wands from the Rider-Waite, the Dark Mansion Tarot, the Guardian of the Night Tarot, excuse me, and the Wildwood Tarot. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot about the King of Wands. How did you interpret the King of Wands in your deck? Please let me know down in the comments. I am anxious to know what you think about your King of Wands. We will be starting on the cups next, starting with the ace. I'll go all the way through to the kings. These might be twice a week. They might be more, depending on how much time I have. I have lots of time this week, so we could be diving into 2 or 3 of the cups this week. You can always go to my website at theveiledcottagewitch.com to request a reading, a service, or to purchase my herbal products. Please go to at checkout, punch in the code word, all caps, veiled, to get free shipping within the US. And please have a wonderful day and live your best life and live for yourself. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.